Welcome back to First Up. DBS Group's $7 billion bid for Bank Danamon in Indonesia is facing delays. Indonesia itself says it won't be approved until new ownership rules are in place. DBS, meantime, posted record first quarter profit, but analysts say that growth may be hit by costs linked to this Danamon bid. However, Chief Executive Piyush Gupta remains confident that the momentum is sustainable.
If you look at the quality of our numbers, they're driven by very strong fundamental drivers. It's a quarter-on-quarter consistent increase in several businesses that we have built and continuing to build. It's growth in China, it's growth in India, it's growth in Indonesia. It's a turnaround in our major markets in Singapore and in Hong Kong. It's new business lines, transaction banking, it's wealth management, it's the customer flows in our treasury. So it is actually very broad-based by country and by business line. And that gives me a reasonable degree of confidence that there is some degree of sustainability in those numbers. Now, clearly in terms of macroeconomic slowdown, there is some slowdown in Asia this year. That reflects in our loan book. It's growing much slower than it did last year. But that notwithstanding, I'm very comfortable that we are on a momentum that is fairly consistent and long-lasting.
How about in terms of longer-term growth? What would it be, acquisitions versus organic growth?
As we think about our Asia strategy to be big in the three axes of growth, in the North, in Southeast and in South Asia, we are relatively light in Southeast compared to many of our competitors. And therefore, if we can bulk up the Southeast Asian portion of our portfolio, that will give us a more balanced book of businesses, and it will give us more exposure, presence in growth markets.
What about acquisitions? Are there plans in the next 12 to 24 months? You've talked about going into high-growth markets.
Well, we've already announced our desire to do something in Indonesia and also to get a small foothold stake in Malaysia. And so, yes, absolutely. Both of those are part of the agenda to rebalance our book.
So 12 to 24 months, apart from Danamon, is there anything else that you may acquire?
Nothing, highly unlikely. We do these things step by step, and it will take us some time to actually integrate and get the value we want from Danamon. And so, no, we would not be in the market looking for other opportunities.
China is a priority for DBS, boosting workforce by about 25%. How will you set yourself apart from the rest of the players who are also vying for that market?
You've got to remember that while the China banking market is active, the total foreign or international players in the market have a very, very small market share. It's like 1 or 2%. Right? And as you think about Chinese companies and Chinese individuals growing over the next 10, 15 years, they're beginning to internationalize. And therefore, their need for the services and opportunities, both on the capital side as well as the trade side, from international players, is growing quite exponentially. Therefore, given the small collective market size of the foreign players, I do believe that the opportunity to continue to grow business with internationalizing Chinese companies and individuals will continue to exist.
How about the slowdown in China? Is that a concern for you?
Well, if you look at our China business the last 2 years, we've been growing at north of 50% every year. In any business, any country, if there's a huge macroeconomic slowdown, it impacts our business because we don't sort of continue rushing along if the macroeconomy is not conducive. But I'm not seeing the kind of slowdown at this point in time that would cause us to believe that there will be a sharp cutback in our business.